Welcome to another webinar this week here at Route Consultant focused on the bread and grocery industry. My name is Josh Gregory. I am the Vice President of Education here at Route Consultant, which all that should mean for you is that I'm here to help teach you some things. So I've been in and around the logistics space in a bunch of different ways over the years. And right now we're really focused on helping you understand this opportunity and what it could mean for you and if it's the right space for you. So as you're trying to decide to get into maybe the logistics space for the first time or bridge into a new logistics space, maybe you're on the FedEx or Amazon side and that's how you met us. This is a place where we want to teach you all about what this industry has in store for you, what the potential is, and some things that you really should start to understand and work through as you're trying to decide how to best structure your strategy in this space. And so these are always going to be a place where we're going to present and provide some teaching and some content for you. And then any questions that may arise are here and you can ask us and we will answer those in real time. Or if maybe you watch this on YouTube, maybe you're watching on YouTube right now and you have a question, you're always free to reach out to our team. Info@routeconsultant.com is the email you can send it to, and we can always try to find a way to answer your question, whether it's live or offline. Now, if you are here and you do have a question to ask while we're here, there's a little Q&A button at the bottom of the window that you can use to type in that question. And whether you type it in now while we're talking or at the end when I open up for questions, we'll get to it. We'll make sure your questions are answered. Now, for today, we always, like I said, if you've been here for the past few weeks or months, we've got plenty of webinars on content for you to go back and look through. But our focus for today is one of the most critical parts, really, of this whole bread industry, which is understanding how to properly manage your inventory. How much do you order? How do you adjust that ordering? What happens if you get it wrong? And really nailing this part of the operation is one of the most important things to understand and to do well if you want to be profitable here. And again, we'll be talking through all of that today, and we'll be bringing on Stephen Ryan to talk through it. And if you haven't met Stephen, he is a current operator in this industry with over a decade of experience here working for different bakeries. He's owned his own routes, and he's really grown to the size where he can be off the truck and be in conversations like this with us today. So, Stephen, if you want to go ahead and say hello and jump on, and we'll get started.
Hey, Josh, great to be back with you.
It's good to have you. So, I teed it up, but let's start at a high level before we kind of start working through it. So, we're talking about inventory management. We're talking about ordering product for these stores. So, before we start going through all the strategy, how do you actually order product? What does that look like? Is it the same everywhere? Is it on a website? Like what does ordering product look like here?
Yeah, so this is a great question. When you purchase a route through various different bakeries, you're going to have a handheld computer that's going to be a way for you to electronically communicate orders back to the bakery. This is going to digitally send your invoices. When you create invoices, you invoice the stores. This is going to send those. And this can look a lot of different ways. So this could be either a Zebra barcode scanner. If you're in the FedEx space, you may be very familiar with these. This could also be a iPad, a Samsung tablet, also utilizing the camera as a barcode scanner. But really it's going to run a specialized app. And that app is tied back into the home office that allows the bakery to accurately forecast product levels. And so as you place orders, as you look at the app, the interface, it's important to know, how you're ordering and when you're ordering. So your district manager is going to help you get set up on that when you purchase a route. And it's going to take a little time to get familiar with, but it really becomes streamlined as you get a couple weeks, a couple months into the business.
Okay. And does each bakery standardize, mandate the type of, technology, whether it's a scanner or an iPad, or is that up at all to personal preference?
You will have some personal preference with different bakeries. I know Pepperidge Farm allows you to either purchase your own equipment or lease one from them. That's a really easy option where if you have any issues with it, you can send it back in. They will send you a loaner. None of that is on you. If you buy your own, you don't really have the IT support that you get with the lease option. But that interface is going to allow you to, like we talked about, place orders, communicate to the bakery, immediately through Wi-Fi and cellular capabilities.
Got it. Yeah. So it's not strictly based on Wi-Fi, and if it is, do you usually find that that's easy or difficult to do at the depots?
No, this has really changed a lot. So in the last 2 years with 5G, the ability to communicate orders almost seamlessly as soon as you close them out in the store. It used to be we had to have a Wi-Fi connection, and either that was at home or in the Walmart parking lot. And so this has really streamlined everything, and communication happens in an instant.
Yeah, so made that part of things a lot easier at least. Yeah, I know lots of terminals Wi-Fi aren't the best, so it is good to hear that you're not strictly dependent on that. So when we're thinking about ordering, from what I understand, the stores provide some amount of kind of forecasting and some kind of calendar. So what does that look like, and really what are you paying attention to? What kind of variance can you see bakery to bakery there?
Yeah, so when you purchase a route, you should get, we've already talked about 52-week sales numbers, so you can have a basic idea of how much volume each store is going to produce. From that, you're going to, make a route schedule, whether that's an A/B schedule, an everyday schedule. Some really busy stores, maybe that's a Sunday morning schedule. But that's going to give you a baseline. And so as you start thinking about ordering, it's important to understand what days you can order a truck from the bakery. And so if that's a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday order calendar, or if that's only a Monday, Thursday order calendar, that's going to be set up regionally depending on the network, how far you are away from the bakery. There's going to be a lot of parameters that go into that are outside of my knowledge base, but knowing when you can order those is really critical, because as we start thinking about our weekly sales volume, we start breaking that up by truck. And as we've talked about before, we want to lean into our inventory heavier in the week on the weekends, and really kind of leaning it out Monday, Tuesday. So knowing when you can order product is the first step in figuring out your weekly flow.
Got it. So there's definitely some nuance there, and I think part of this whole thing, we've mentioned it before, is when you're buying one of these businesses, trying to get as much of that knowledge from the seller as possible, and understanding kind of what the different territories look like, what good days to order look like. But some of that too may be that maybe the person who's selling it to you is not there anymore, or it's coming directly from a bakery, and maybe they don't have some of that knowledge. So as you're trying to figure out your calendar, and as you're getting into the space for the first time, we can help you think through some of those variables and really help to start structure this. And so as we're talking through some of this stuff today, we're trying to help you understand, at a high level what each of them are, but just know that some of this is going to come down to your individual territory, what it looks like, and it might involve some back and forth with us as we're trying to help you really start to understand and plan for that. So that calendar kind of shows you kind of what to expect. You can see some level of baseline average there, but I'd imagine it's not perfect. And so, if products have some kind of variance, or if there is a delay at all during a week, how do you handle what you expected versus what you may get sometimes? How do you kind of handle those gaps?
Yeah, so this is going to vary widely between bakeries. Some will have, you want to, as you're thinking about your inventory, you want to start with your top 10 SKUs. So if you're carrying 50, your top 10, your top 15, your top 20, these are your core SKUs. And they may be on a shorter ordering schedule than some of your slower items. And again, some of this is going to be regionally dependent, but you may have a 48-hour, a 72-hour, a 96-hour order window for a product. And so basically, the easy way to think about that is the cutoff time, say Monday is 2:30 in the afternoon, and you're ordering your 48-hour product for Thursday. You're ordering your 72-hour product for Friday, and then your 96-hour product for Saturday. So you're somewhere between 2, 3, 4, 5 days in advance on your orders. So as you're running through your route and you're figuring out, your inventory levels, going back through at the end of the day and looking at what you have coming in and then adjusting that order is really critical to adjusting to the flow of product, the demand for product through seasonality, time of year, all the things that we'll get into. But this is a great start to understanding how to really be successful in this business.
Got it. Okay. Now you touched on it. So it sounds like it's not going to be the same level of volume at all times throughout the year. When do you see some variability? What causes it? And what should people really be thinking about there?
Yeah, at a high level, the simplest way to think about that is in the summertime, you're going to sell a whole lot more buns than you will in the wintertime. 4th of July, Memorial Day, Labor Day, these are big grilling holidays. People love to be on the lake. They love to host friends and family. So these are going to be huge drivers of, the grilling time of year. Not nearly as much in November. So it's hard to forecast that, but as soon as the weather starts getting warmer, you're going to start seeing a ramp up, and you need to be available to adjust that order accordingly. So paying attention to what's moving and really starting to think through as you become familiar with your route, how many units am I moving of this SKU? If I'm bringing in product on Monday and I'm coming back to the store on Thursday, I want to bridge the gap between 4 days. And so at the store across the street, that might be 15 units. And then the store down the road, that might be 150 units. And so there's that kind of variability depending on the market that you're in, seasonality impacts, as well as promotions. If you're in an area that is really focused on value, they're going to buy a whole lot more when it's on promotion than an area that is very affluent and buys a brand name regardless of the price. And so those are some of the nuances that you need to be aware of in your market. And prepare for as you learn the route, and then hopefully down the road train drivers and start moving away from the daily operations of the business.
Got it. Now, I how far in advance do you know promotions again?
So you're going to get a promotional calendar that's going to show maybe 2 to 3 months worth of promotions, and you're going to get them well in advance. A good rule of thumb is a grocery manager is going to start planning display plans 2 to 3 weeks in advance. So I start kind of planting the seed. We have this product on promotion. This is a great margin for you. Last time we did this, over the Easter holiday, it did fantastic. So this is what we should plan for. How do you feel about that? So planting that seed 2, 3, 4 weeks in advance is a great rule of thumb, and you'll have that calendar at your disposal.
Got it. Are there promotions? Is that the main way that bakeries push for growth in an area? Or have you ever seen them do anything different to really, maybe they say a store or a particular market's going to be a huge focus. Is it always promotions, or are there other things that they may do to try to drive growth in a particular market?
Yeah, from a top-down level, it's always going to be promotions. So you may have the ability in your market to say, hey, there are lots of, local tiendas or food shops in this area, and they're really buying this product. They're selling it at a restaurant, at a taco truck. And so you can really push that, whether it's on promotion or not, based on your regional areas. But promotions from a national level are going to show value to the customer. I think in last week's topic, we talked about digital coupons. And so all that's done from a home office. There's a big focus on that right now. But it's all about the consumer and really driving traffic to one store versus the competition. And so the better price that they can get on the product, they want to display that. They want that front and center so that the customer shops at their store as opposed to the one down the road.
Got it. Yeah. So I think that's a good way just in general to think about some of this inventory growth is that at the national level, the bakeries are going to have kind of things that they think are important, and then they'll push and they'll move in certain markets. But you as the individual contractor know more about your specific stops and stores, even more than a regional focus. It is a very specific territory focus. And you have the ability to kind of track and flex with that inventory. And if you can do it properly, you'll really succeed and drive more growth by kind of tracking the trends that you know and expect from your knowledge of a territory. So I think something that's just kind of helpful for people is, if you're thinking about an individual store, like for your business, can you just kind of talk through what you would do for a store to think about and order and track the inventory and just kind of walk through a day of that for people?
Sure. This is something that I have found helpful as I'm thinking about inventory managing stale. I've done it multiple different ways, but this is kind of one that has always fallen back to me. And it might be a good baseline. Now, as you learn your route, you may find a better way to do it. And I applaud you for that. I would love to hear some of your experience. Maybe that can help me. But as I go into a store, I think about, we talked about between delivery times, Monday to Thursday, Thursday to Saturday. I start thinking about kind of my core volume, if that's 15 units, if that's 150 units. Um, and so as I go into a store, if I have, just for easy math, say that I have 10 units on the shelf, I'm going to bring in five. I'm going to hit that 15 unit mark. And then as I roll through my route, I know how many units I have left on my truck, and that will allow me at the end of the day to then know I'm either heavy or I'm light on product. So as I'm going through the day, I'm hitting my inventory management level, um, always making sure that I have more on the shelf than is necessary, right? So if I'm selling 15, I want to have about 20, maybe 21, 22 on the shelf. Um, and then at the end of the day, that'll allow me to say I have 25 left on my truck. So I'm heavy by 2 trays. So I'm going to adjust my next order down 2 trays. And you do that for every SKU. And this really becomes seamless. You really learn your stores, and it allows you at the end of the day to see where your inventory is. When I first started this business, I was so anxious about stale and worried about chargebacks, more so than I needed to be. I started slamming it out into the stores, putting way too much inventory in one place. And what I found was it was really difficult for me to remember what I was heavy on, where I was heavy on it, at what store I had put it, and then to be able to accurately adjust my orders for the next delivery day. And so by keeping it on the truck, it allowed me to see what I had. Maybe I was heavy, maybe I was short. Maybe I'm going through my day and I want to put in 10, but my inventory is dwindling to the point where I can only put in 6. And so now I can feel at the end of the day I have nothing left, and I wanted to put more into these stores than I could. And so maybe I need to bump that order up. So going through that exercise helped me to really understand where I was on inventory, what the stores needed. And then if I had something left over, from a Monday delivery, I could then try and sell it on Tuesday. I would adjust my Thursday order, and then all my freshest product, I would make sure that I separated it on the truck and I put it into my slowest stores. And so anything that was left over from a previous delivery, I would put it front and center in my best stores to give it the best chance of sell through. Rotating your product that way, thinking about your orders that way, not selling too much into a store. Was a great kind of starting point for me to really manage inventory.
Okay, yeah, I think that's actually a really interesting point. So you can rotate products between stores after it's already been set out?
Absolutely. So if you have too much product in one store, you can buy it back. You can give the store credit for it the same way that you might be giving them credit for it as a stale. It's just not a stale, it's a buyback. You can put it back in your inventory, take it to another store. But
Got it.
also, if order 100 cases of something, you go through your day and you only put out 75, you have 25 left over in your truck, right? And so I'm going to sell those 25 because they're old, a couple days old, to my best stores. And whatever comes in Thursday, my freshest product, I'm going to put that in my slower accounts just to try and manage that inventory.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, of just knowing kind of the speed that product moves per store is another kind of level of this, of knowing that maybe I order close to what I think I'll need in a specific store, knowing I've got a little bit of a buffer from, because there's one store that is a little bit slower and maybe I can pull product from it and put it in the store if it sells faster than I expected. There's a lot of those variables that are actually really interesting in ways that you can save yourself. So, when you're thinking about this, usually do you have enough time? Like, let's say you've over or under ordered. I know that these don't deliver inventory every single day. So is there usually enough time to kind of correct it? If you find a store's out and I don't have anywhere else to get it, what's kind of the resolution there? Or a store has way too much. There's a big percentage of this that's about to go stale and I don't have any fast moving stores to shift it to. Like, what are the ways to handle those two scenarios?
Yeah, so on the short-sided side of the equation, we've talked about, relationships with other distributors. Getting product transferred from someone else is a great starting point. If you don't have the ability to get a truck, the next day. Um, so if you're trying to bridge the gap between a couple days, I would start with another distributor. And if you can't find product, own up to your mistakes. You're going to get a lot of credit from a grocery manager if you simply go to them and say, I screwed up. I made a mistake. This is what happened. How can I be a solution for you in the midst of this? Can I help you build the end cap with something else? Because you were expecting me to have product for it and I don't. On the other hot side of the equation, if you have way too much, you're going to stale it out. So you can do your best efforts. I referenced once before, 4th of July, when I first started in this business, I had built displays everywhere and it just rained cats and dogs. And nobody grilled out and there was nothing I could do about it. But you're going to, with those relationships with a district manager, with a regional manager, if you run into a situation where you're over your stale limit, if they know you're doing a good job, you're selling displays, you're being aggressive in your market, you're rotating your product, hopefully they're going to work with you. That has been my experience, that they're going to give me some stale write-off. They're going to give me some additional coverage that they wouldn't have had otherwise because they know that I took a risk. I pushed the product. It rained. There were bad circumstances, and I had to pick it up. So those are kind of two suggestions, some thought processes that you can do in either scenario.
Got it. Okay. And, you know, just a couple of kind of quick technical questions, stale, how long before a product typically goes stale? And is there much variance across products?
Yeah, so in the bread world, you're going to see 7 to 14 days is kind of the standard. We're starting to slowly see some longer shelf lives with product innovation and how product is packaged, keeping the air out of there to preserve it longer. Um, Cookie crackers, you may see 6 months, and there's just no issue with that. Tortillas, you may see 28 to 35 days. And really, if you manage your inventory well, stale is a non-issue. But most bakeries are going to offer you some percentage of stale relief. And that is going to be offered to you with the caveat that you return the product within a certain number of days. You can't be letting product ride past its sell-by date on the shelf. That's unacceptable. They're not going to give you credit for that if you're not doing the work. But all that's going to be outlined in your contract. And it's important to understand that, but this is a part of the business. Everybody is going to have stale. If you don't have stale, you're really not pushing hard enough, in my opinion.
Got it. Yeah, it's one of those where, yeah, if you're not having any amount of stale, then you're probably just doing a poor job of everything we're talking about today, inventory management. You're not making as much money as you should. There should be a little bit, and you're trying to find that balance of an acceptable amount of stale, because that means the bakery's not mad, and it means you're pushing as much product as you can. You don't want to go too far or too little, or you're really, leaving money on the table. So, last question here, and if anybody has any questions, feel free to type them in. But, we talk about how there's variability and how inventory can shift. If you are expecting either maybe it's a huge promotion or there's a huge season where inventory is going to spike, it's going to take a lot more to deliver all of that. Do you change anything about your preparation, about your hiring? Is there anything that needs to happen there? Basically, a peak type season for bread.
Sure. And again, it really comes back to your individual route. If you are in a heavy holiday and you're stocking shelves at 7:30 a.m. and they're empty by 10, then you're really missing the boat. And so that may mean that you need a part-time merchandiser, someone that can come back 2 or 3 times in that afternoon. I know that Coke, Pepsi, Frito-Lay, all the big guys that just move incredible volume, they justify that. And so they have someone that services the store at 7, 10, 2, and 5, peak time. So they just physically don't have enough shelf space to sustain 12 hours of sales with only one service. And so learning that as a distributor is really where you bring value to the company that you represent. This is how you grow your business well, those small regional impacts that we've talked about. And you're going to make so much more money making sure that your shelves are full, you're stores are happy than you would paying someone $15, $25 to come back behind you to work back stock. So focus on that, know your stores.
Yeah. And I think that's what it always comes down to. Now, I guess just for everybody at home, for you, you've been in this for a little while now, over 10 years. How long, when you're thinking about it, does like the actual inventory selection take you? And then maybe when you first started, how long did it take you so that people can kind of start to process the time that this portion of the business takes?
Yeah, when I first started, it probably took me an hour to put in an order, because I had to remember what product I had in each individual store. Not every store is going to carry a full offering of your 50 or 75 SKUs. And so when you're first starting on a route, I recommend, and this is what I did when I bought a route in 2019, I went through with the distributor and I put down every SKU, and I did that for every store. And I asked him in general, how many of these are you bringing a week? And so I could have a baseline. And then I cross-referenced that when I placed my order to know that if I'm selling 15 in this store and 20 in this store, I need to order 4 cases. And then learning your case counts, because that's going to vary as well. And with time, it really becomes seamless. It becomes like, just operating your route, running through your day. I need 5 cases of this, 25 cases of this, 2 cases of this. And then learning, you're really slow sellers. So every company is going to have some products that are specialty, that are kind of a niche market. That people want, but they just don't really they don't move mass numbers. And so understanding, if this is a 7-day product, if it only has 7-day shelf life, I need to order it once a week and I need to distribute it across all my stores and know that I'm going to pick it up next week and I need to reorder it to replenish. If the product comes in with 10 days on it, remembering that I'm going to try and order this every 10 days, because most likely it's not going to sell. I'm going to have to pick it up. It's 2 units here and there across my whole route, but not ordering it the following week if it has 10 days on it. I don't want to really ride product on my truck when I don't need it. Another option that you can do is splitting cases. So if you have a product that's just really, really slow, then you want to order 1 case and split it between different distributors at your warehouse. You have the ability to do that as well. Just make sure you understand billing and whether you need to transfer product out, have product transferred in. That's an important part of that as well.
Got it. Now, do you still do all the inventory yourself, or do you ever let a driver do it?
No, at this point, I let the driver take care of a lot of it. I'm still out there to help sell displays, to serve him, to give him a day off here and there, cover vacations. But he's in the store all the time, right? So I want to start to delegate. You can only get as big as you can delegate off responsibility. So I'm here to make sure that that happens. But I want to give him as much freedom as he can.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's helpful for people to think through, is that you want to hire people as you're bringing in drivers and getting off the truck that you can trust to run the route and start to understand the business and understand the inventory. Because as you move farther away from the day to day, you'll be less able to properly predict that inventory. And so you really want to have a driver that's capable of doing it as you need it.
The only exception I would put to that is if you are doing a product that is extremely fast growing. If you're trying to pay someone a commission that is growing incrementally, that at some point you're going to have to split this route. And you don't want to take commissions away from a driver. That's a great way to have a lot of turnover. And so I would say if you have something that is growing really quickly and you want to and have the ability to manage some of that inventory on your own, pay someone a salary, knowing that down the road you're going to have to split that. You want to make sure that you retain your driver, make sure you serve him well, and you don't set him up for a situation where he's unhappy.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a great call out. Perfect. Well, that's really what we wanted to cover here today. We want you to kind of understand the different parts of this, what it looks like as you do it, but also see that it's, not every route is going to be built the same. There's differences around bakeries, order time, product, how long it lasts, what your stores look like in your individual territory. So there are pieces to this, and a lot of the kind of art and science of this space comes from understanding your stores and properly ordering inventory so that you can really maximize your sales and ultimately your profitability. And this is where probably one of the hardest things for new contractors is getting this right. So as you're getting into the space, learn what you can from the seller. But like I said at the beginning, we are happy to help kind of talk through a strategy, analyze the business you're looking at, whether it's one you're buying or one you're already running, and help you think through what that inventory management and structure and strategy looks like for whatever you're running or whatever you will be running. Other than that, for everyone on here, if you're still trying to get into the space for the first time, one of the easiest ways to do that, what we recommend people do is we have a digital course. It's called our New Investor Summit, where you can come and you can sign up for it. You'll learn all the digital course for online, and that's great. But an important part of it as well is that we want you to come out to our offices in Nashville, and we'll be there. Stephen will be there. We want to make sure that we meet you, we answer your questions about the space, and help you really accelerate and decide if it's the right one for you or not. If it is the right space, we want to help you move really quickly to that next step and really find the right one, find the right bakery, and find the one that fits for you. And on the flip side, if you decide that this is not the space for you, we still count that as a great day for both parties, because instead of you spending hundreds of thousands of dollars getting into the space and finding it's not the right fit for you, you come out and in one day make that decision and know for sure. So if that's where you are in the process, highly encourage you to do that. Our next New Investor Summit is actually May 24th. So it's coming up in a few weeks if you are interested in that. And then let's say you're already past that point, you're doing this no matter what, whether you're buying it or you're already a contractor, there's lots of ways we can work with you to help you evaluate businesses, or to work with Stephen directly on a mentorship basis as you're understanding the business and working through it. So wherever you are in the journey, feel free to reach out to our team. You can reach out, you can send your info on here right now in the chat, or you can just email us at info@routeconsultant.com, and we are happy to help with whatever your questions are and wherever you are in the process. Other than that, thank you, Stephen, so much for being here, for kind of providing this insight on what is a really critical part of the industry.
Thank you, Josh, and everyone else. We will see you next week.
That's right. See you next week, everybody.